Hey folks, how's it going? This is Iron Seagull here with a bit of a different video today because recently I was thinking about ways to make my gameplay a little bit more interesting. And I was thinking back to the video I did in September 2017 about how to make The Sims 4 more exciting, and coincidentally that for some reason has had a resurgence in views recently, so I'm really glad it's reaching a lot more people because I really wanted to help out people with that. And one of the things that I suggested was to use all of the content that you have, and maybe you'll even find something that you like that you wouldn't have expected to. So in a way, with this video, I'm taking my own advice, because the subject of this one is about 5 objects in The Sims 4 that I feel that I don't really use much at all. And the first object in this list is the one that you've been watching for the past minute or so, the Motion Monitor gaming mat. This is quite an unusual object because usually when I think of having Sims play video games, I just go like straight to the computer or the video game console, though we didn't get that back until City Living. In the meantime, we also had this. And I think the reason I don't really use this that often is because, well, it's a little bit more awkward to fit into spaces than a video game console or a computer, and it is a bit on the expensive side as well, so it's just something that's not coming to my mind very often at all. And what this object offers is that it's mostly the same games that are available on the other systems, but it's more interactive and more physical. Though I do wish that there was more variation in the animations for the different games. It does get more interesting when your video game skill gets really high and you unlock this game called Maniac Match'ems, which uses a bunch of the different icons you see throughout The Sims 4. I think it's kind of cute, and yeah, I think maybe this could be an object that I'd like a bit more if I actually remember to use it more often. The next entry on this list is the Cupcake Factory. It's from the base game, yet I've barely used it, and I've owned The Sims 4 since the day it released. And, well, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you guessed that this was going to be featured in the video, because I've seen my opinions be the same as a lot of others with this object, where it's just like, it's so big, it looks bizarre, it doesn't really fit well into the game most of the time. And it's too bad really, because it's not like I hate cooking in The Sims. I actually enjoy it more than almost any other skill in the game. I enjoy using the food-related appliances we received through packs, like the ice cream maker and cool kitchen, and the popcorn machine and movie hangout stuff, but the Cupcake Factory is an exception. One creator named Esmeralda made a modified version of this object that makes it a lot smaller and has less of a themed look to it, but in the end, it's a pretty industrial object, and because of that, is still difficult for me to justify using, but in the setting of a bakery, I'm sure I could get away with it. The next object I want to talk about is the only one in this list that's not from the base game, and that's the murals from City Living. I think why I don't use them is for 3 reasons. One is that this ties into the painting skill, which is one of my least used skills ever. The other being is that, like the Cupcake Factory, it's pretty good at taking up space. On top of that, I find when placing the mural on the floor, it's possible for parts of the finished mural to not show up properly. And in my experience, for some reason, when I have more than one sim working on a mural, one of them will get a routing issue from time to time, but it doesn't cancel the interaction or anything, they just keep going. So I guess it's just them trying to paint the other side or something and they can't do it because the other sim is using it, but still a minor issue that I find kinda strange. It also is made to fit a certain theme in my opinion. I feel like they are made to be used in lower end urban settings, and these days most of my time is spent in the more rural coastal town of Brindleton Bay. I actually do enjoy making murals when I remember to use them, so maybe I should just start trying to play in San Myshuno more often again. Next on the list is the rocket ship. This is another entry that I think was pretty predictable. I'm not going to deny that there's a running theme of objects that are too well themed, but in this case there's 3 different versions of the rocket ship, so its situation is less about that and more about the space. Because by golly, not only is this a big object, it's not one that fits into a residential setting most of the time. At least with the CUPCAKE factory, you can tuck it away into a basement, but that doesn't really make sense with rocket ships since you don't have a hatch that they can fly through on their way up into the sky. Sure, you could place rocket ships on a community lot, but even then, it's still hard for me to fit it into a venue where it makes sense in my save file. I have one placed in the big park in Oasis Springs, but that's it. I don't know if I'll ever use this object more often, and that's unfortunate because it seems like a fun object and it's one of the only ways to access the planet of Sixim, which was added with the Get to Work expansion. True, there is also GeekCon where a rocket ship appears and you can build that there, but GeekCon doesn't really happen in my game that often, so it's not really the most viable option either. But I do appreciate that they tried something different because this is the first Sims game where you can just place a rocket ship on your home lot. So yeah, it is an interesting effort, but still something that I don't imagine myself using that often. The last object I want to talk about is the cow plant. The reasons for me not using this object are mostly different from the others that I've discussed. Yeah, it's a pretty themed object that doesn't always fit too well, but it's mainly for 2 other things. It's a hidden object you don't normally have access to through the build and buy, and if you're not careful, it can kill your Sims. I'm not the type of player who enjoys killing Sims, but maybe those who do are the opposite of me and use it pretty often. I would still like to use this object more often though. Before cats and dogs came along, this was basically the closest thing we had to a pet in The Sims 4. The fish don't need to be fed like in previous games, and other collectibles like the frogs don't need food either. The cow plant is definitely a lot more alive, and it's just one of those charming objects that The Sims is known for. It's also pretty cute that you can see yours grow from a berry into a fully grown plant with The Sims 4. I guess I better get fishing. Hopefully they won't die on me though, their skeletons look pretty brutal. And that's it for this list of 5 objects in The Sims 4 that I don't use enough. The game is continuing to get more content, and while that is great, it can cause some objects to quickly fade into the background and the back of my mind. While I did partly make this video for myself as a personal reminder to get cracking on using these objects, the major reason I uploaded it is so that hopefully it'll help you all find interesting things to do in your game when you're bored. These definitely are not the only objects that I feel are underused in my game, so I'll likely make another video just like this one a bit down the line, with even more objects that I don't use enough. I know almost all of the ones in this video were base game objects, but the ones I mentioned came to mind first. I'll try to include more objects from packs next time around. And no, don't worry, it's not going to include the talking toilet. That's an object that I don't use much at all, and I plan on having it stick that way. Never really liked that object that much, and I find it kinda weird. So let me know in the comment section below what objects you feel you don't use enough. Maybe some of them will even be included in the next video that I do. And be sure to leave a like or a comment or even subscribe because it lets me know that you like my channel, my videos, and it helps you keep up to date more easily with the latest content from me. I do videos on The Sims, Sonic the Hedgehog, and more, so I'll talk to you all later, and have a great day. Thanks for watching!